Hello everyone, this is WGM Sabina Foisor. Welcome back to round 5 commentary of the National Middle School Championship in Round Rock, Texas. It has been a pleasure being here with you. Always grateful to US Chess for having me host these tournaments. I hope you've enjoyed the content, and some of it is already posted on YouTube. So if you missed any of the previous round commentaries, you'll be able to catch them on US Chess YouTube page, the same as you're able to catch up with my review, my favorite moments of each round. Those will be posted various days, so being subscribed to US Chess will give you a notification to remind you to get back. Of course, this tournament is becoming more and more interesting the closer we're getting to the end, and it's been exciting for me to see a lot of the lower rated players take on the lead in the tournament by taking down some of the higher rated players. It gets to remind us that we have to be super mindful regardless of whom we're playing against, because, well, everyone can have a good day or a bad day, and we need to be ready to whatever life is throwing at us. Specifically, talking about chess, there's often going to be opportunities. We need to be able to be ready to take on the chances. This tournament wouldn't take place without a lot of behind the scenes work from US Chess staff and volunteers. So I want to take a moment to say thank you to them for putting this together. Parents and kids competing in the tournament, always, I want to say thank you as well for making it to the competition, giving it your best shot, and taking the learnables from there. There are, of course, coaches going to these tournaments as well. And tournaments, of course, are not possible without sponsorships. So big thank you to Silver Knights, GT Anywhere, and Invisalign for partnering with US Chess for this tournament. I'm ready to get into the action for round 5, but it's been a really long day. There were a lot of exciting games, and I needed to choose one of my favorites from round 4. So before going into the action of today's round 5 and final round of the day, I wanted to go over my favorite moment from round 4. And I decided to choose this moment from the game played on board 1 in the K-8 championship section between Samantha Robertson and Brian and Ming Lin. Brian is the highest rated player in the tournament. He has put a lot of pressure on Robert for a lot of this game. I gotta say, he was trying to outplay him. It took him some time to improve the position. At some point, I wasn't even sure Black was better. But getting into this position, Black has been able to activate the rook, has maybe a slightly more active bishop, and also is up a pawn, at least just temporary, could be for longer. White is threatening to capture in a7. And it is in this moment that Brian decided to give this rook b2 check to see where White's king is going to go. And generally, from a human perspective, with little time on the clock, it's difficult to make the decision of playing king f3, though that would have been the best move. And the reason for it is we fear potential mating nets with rook f2 in some situations. We fear a knight making its way to d4 or g5 or h4, and we feel that there might be a mate, and just this feeling seems to keep us away from making the move. And I think that's what happened to Robert too in this position. He didn't go for that placement of the king. Obviously, if check, we can simply return to g2, and there's no real progress for Black here. That pawn definitely is going to be captured. Both White and Black are having a few, loose ends, pawn-wise, let's say. And I think this game on a normal, good day where we have sufficient time to think through every single move could end in a draw. However, it is in this position that Robert decided to play the move king h1. And that is a mistake because it allows Black to bring in the rook to f2 And now this bishop is in somewhat of a danger. You cannot go back king g1 to attack the rook and protect the bishop, because black's going to go for bishop e3, which creates a potential discovered attack. You cannot move back the king because the bishop will be lost, and regardless of what you do, your rook is going to be lost the next move with rook to a2. So that move is not possible, and we don't really have the opportunity to move the bishop there because we're going to lose it in this fashion. If we move the bishop to d3, we are going to allow potentially something like this happening. And okay, if we have to make the rook passive, then we won't be capturing that pawn. So maybe black can afford to start advancing it further, and with an extra pawn, we can certainly say that black has some winning chances. Now in the game, white decided to go rook a1, retreat with the rook, protect the bishop. And it is here that I'm not sure fully what happened. If Brian, dropped the pawn in a6, didn't, or meant to put it in a5 and dropped it on a6. I mean, this is not a mouse situation. They're playing over the board, and I do not know what was the reasoning for putting the pawn on a6 and not on a5. I think had he played the pawn in a5, he would have had a much easier way to win. Placing the pawn in a6 gives white the ability to actually capture it, and when the capture happens, there's going to be a potential discovered check, and black is going to lose that knight very soon. So that's why it was a bit surprising to me that the pawn was dropped to a6. Black wins the bishop in f1 as the rook got deflected to go to a6, but sorry, now after rook b1, knight c8 was played, putting additional pressure on the knight, taking advantage of the fact that it is pinned, and white gets the chance to return the favor, get the piece back. Now black is again in a situation where they have to outplay their opponent, and it's not easy. It's not easy, and this has happened to me so many times in games. I saw an idea, I thought it was winning, I went for it, and then realized that actually it wasn't that great, and I missed another opportunity. So what's very important to do is always forget about the past, don't dwell on the past, focus on the moment that you have at hand, focus on the present, and try to make the best move, make the best choices in that specific situation. Black has nicely played rook b2, checked white's king. The king went to f1, and now he's trying to make his way to activate the king to attempt winning these two pawns of white's. Rook c2 to avoid the trading of the rooks and trying to win the pawn in c4. And white is trying to activate or push that pawn forward to make the right kind of trades that would lead to eventually drawing the game. And everything seemed to go according to plan, including the trading of the rooks. After the rooks got traded, black had to recapture with the king because otherwise that pawn would have just marched. And now we face a situation that is very, very important for white. With little time on the clocks, as you guys can see over here, you need to make the decisions as fast as possible. The time control for this tournament was 90 minutes with 10 seconds delay. No increment to be able to give yourself additional time. Besides, this position is serious. White needs to be mindful of black's winning idea. What we notice immediately, and this is probably something that white noticed when they made the decision to trade rooks, is the fact that this bishop is of a wrong corner color. So what it means is if these three pieces disappear from the board and white makes its way to h1, despite having a bishop and a pawn, despite having those pieces extra as black, there's no way for black to progress the position. That's a theoretical position that everyone should know. If you don't know, well, it might be time to go back and review a little bit your theoretical endgame knowledge. Now, that is very important. So while realizing this very fast, you need to make your way with the king to h1. That should be white's #1 priority. Not getting the knight out of c8, not moving it away from there. No, the priority should be bringing the king to h1. If white doesn't make it there, then this position is not going to be a draw, because black can make it with his king to g2, restricting white's king from entering, and then that pawn is going to make its way to promotion without being disturbed by anything. So because we know that, we know we need to bring the king to h1. And what about the knight? Well, yes, the knight will have to find its way to be given for the pawn. So eventually we'll have various ways to go this way, or maybe we could go knight b6, knight here, knight b6, knight a4. So many ways to try to go and grab that pawn in 2-3 moves that it shouldn't be a problem. The problem would be if black would have had the opportunity to play bishop c5 and restrict the knight. If that was an option, I would say, uh-oh, this is terrible, this is a problem. But we cannot capture our own pawn, so we are set. White played the correct move in this position, king f1, bringing their king to h1, and when black very sneakily, I would say, if I can use the word sneakily, I don't even know if that word exists, in a sneaky fashion, played the move king e4, pretending that they are going to grab white's pawn in c4. White blundered. White didn't realize that black's threat wasn't actually to go grab the pawn, it was in fact to play king f3. When the black king makes it to f3, it creates a fortress, so white's king cannot get in the corner anymore. And if white's king doesn't get in the corner, this endgame is not going to be drawn. So white, unfortunately, blundered in this position, and instead of playing king g2 to get the draw, and after this move to go try to attempt to win the pawn, like I said, we have various ways. Knight b6 followed by knight a4 or knight d7. Grab that pawn. The king is in the corner. There's nothing to fear. This endgame would be a draw. Unfortunately for him, after playing such a tough and such a good game until this point, saving it on a number of occasions, Robert blundered with the move knight d6. This check certainly helps white go to prepare to give up the knight for the pawn, but unfortunately allows the correct move king f3, which I believe Brian has played immediately. White's king is restricted from getting into the corner, so now no matter how many checks white is going to attempt to give to push this king away so that his own king can make it in the corner, it's not going to work. And I gotta give, you know, a lot of, you know, appreciation to Robert for trying in this position, like knight f5. Obviously he can never take this bishop because then of course black is going to win. He's got two pass pawns, or okay, he will have two pass pawns. So white gives that check, and now it's important to know this triangulation idea. King g4 and then king g3. We're going to be able to escape from the path of checks of the knight. Always, if you place your king on the same, like right next to the knight, on the same rank or file, you're going to be able to stay away from checks for an additional move. Obviously, after king g4, white has the opportunity to go to h1, but this is different because we haven't been able to win that pawn. So if black wins this, it doesn't matter we got into the corner. Black will make its way to win that pawn, and with that, the game. So the knight had to go, and now king g3. This is the second thing you need to know about king versus knight, that if you place your king on the same rank or file with the knight 2 squares apart, they need, again, 2 moves to be able to check you. Meanwhile, you have time to do something. So white is going knight e7 to check in f5, but black doesn't care. Now king f3, so you don't have another check. This king is still restricted, so black will have to find its way to push h4. The knight came to f5, bishop f2. A nice restricting of the knight. The knight needs to find its way again to check black's king so that they can attempt to play king g2, but now it's time for the h-pawn to advance. Bishop e3. Obviously h3 was a possibility, but unfortunately it wouldn't be winning anymore, because after knight g5 check, we go king g3. What do you think happens? We have various ways. This is another fancy one. Why not getting the bishop, since we can't do that? We get the bishop and it's a draw. And we could also take the pawn, because even if black would make to take the pawn, all we have to do is just sit around. Whenever the pawn will be captured, we'll take the opposition here, and this is a draw. The pawn hasn't made it to white's half of the board. The game continued with bishop e3. Obviously, black is not going to drop that h-pawn at all, unless you want to take it. And after king e2, I do not know if white lost on time or resignation happened, but what we need to remember is that if black would have played h3 here, we take h2, there's no way to stop the pawn, and if after h3, white would play knight f3, for example, black can simply move the bishop, just probably not f2 because this will delay a bit the game, we cannot capture due to stalemate. So probably I'll just move the bishop somewhere else. And white is in Zugzwang, that pawn is going to push once the knight moves. If you take, we can go h2, but we can also take, and we are much faster. So this was definitely one of the most, in a way heartbreaking but exciting moments of round 4. I hope there was a learnable lesson for everyone, and if you weren't familiar with wrong color corner bishop endgames, it's a theoretical position. Be sure to check out, spend a little bit of time to review your theoretical positions for future tournaments. You never know when it might pay off. With that said, I certainly hope you are excited to get into round 5 as much as I am. I think we have missed quite a bit of the moves, so I'll just get directly into it. So, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, there are right now in the championship section, we actually have only 5 players with 4 out of 4. The rest of them are on 3.5 and 3. So it's definitely getting down to the last few rounds to see who's going to take home the championship, or maybe we'll have co-champions, who knows. Okay, so on board 1, both Brian and Maxwell are on 4 out of 4. And looks like we have an open Sicilian, the Najdorf variation, bishop e2, e5. All right. Following through main theory, castle, castle, rook e1. I'm not familiar with this. Now, I know there are a lot of moves, a lot of ideas these days. White has tried everything against Black's Najdorf, but the question is how good they are, that I do not know. If someone in the chat is familiar with the Najdorf and knows what's the most aggressive line, I mean, personally, I would think, bringing the bishop to g5 and not allowing e5 is probably one of those sharper lines, but feel free to disagree with me. That's okay. You probably would know better if you are playing this. So theory-wise, it looks good for both sides. Very normal development moves. Queen d3 attracted, bishop c4 now goes to d2, and generally White's gonna try to find a way to put the knight in the center. Also, this pawn is weak. Might have a5. I think it's very, very balanced right now, the position, definitely. It's kind of interesting how both players actually have spent the same amount of time so far. So, okay, we'll catch up with that game later. On board 2, also, both players with 4 out of 4. We've had a Ragosi. Okay, this might be the first Ragozin I'm seeing in this tournament. Takes bishop g5, this is the main line, h6, bishop h4. This is definitely the main line. I have tried capturing the knight, and I actually had a game recently with this, queen b3. Generally forces black to give the bishop back, and you can choose to capture with the pawn or the queen. I personally believe queen makes more sense, maintaining the file open, and in case black chooses to play c6, white will have the ability to create the minority attack here. Pretty solid plan for white. Bishop h4 does allow for some sharper lines, I think. And there's even a line with g5 for those of you who are excited about attacking, putting pressure and things like that. Well, this is one of those that you need to know. I know in my recent tournament I couldn't remember the line, so that's why I told you I went for bishop takes f6. I think there's some some theoretical ideas here. This and then c6, and we lost the bishop there. And I'm crying for my bishop pair. I need the bishop pair to be in the on the board when I get the chance to. So it looks like black went for an interesting approach instead, to go with c4, restrict the bishop from going to d3, and now it's going for the g5 94 idea. Now, compared to the other position, white does have the chance to go rook c1, and I think we might see queen a5, and then it's like castle. I think white, there's a line where white gives up the pawn and then tries to get to take advantage of black scheme in the center, maybe playing e4 and just kind of break through the position. So right now it's just rook c1. This is the current position. Still waiting to see. Now on board 3, it is Ishan, who is on a 4 out of 4. He just won his game against one of the higher rated players in the competition, Tariq Yu. And now he's playing against Megan, who drew her previous round against Arabella Feng. Megan went for the Chekover variation, queen takes d4. She's played some Alapin, but it looks like she decided to change for this particular game, and she went for the Chekover. Queen back to d3 and c4. White tries to take control over d5, and the queen in d3, I've mentioned in the past, has the flexibility of switching over from one side of the board to the other. And also, a big important thing to mention is that when you have one bishop left on the board, you want to place your queen on the opposite color, okay? Because you're controlling more squares with both pieces on separate colors. So that's the main reason why we do that. So it's important to kind of keep it in mind. Castle, knight c3, and b3. So still a balanced position coming out of the opening. Both players probably are out of their theory right now. White has ideas not with just bishop b2, but bishop a3 too, to put pressure on d6. And maybe because of that, pin will have the ability to take in e5. This should be a pretty good position, I'd say. Moving on to Just Lover. Hey, I've had better days, but it's always great to do commentary. Like, when I do commentary, I'm the happiest, I think. So, cheers to that. I'll say cheers to the commentaries. And I'll be back. Actually, I forgot where you live, but I'll be playing in DC. So if you happen to be in that area, maybe I'll get the chance to see you next week. So, Taimanov. Once again, we're playing against the Taimanov. Okay, these players are on 3.5, by the way, for those of you wondering. I think it's still theory. I don't know. I've seen some games of Sumuslov was playing with Queen e1 or Spassky. Queen e1, bring the rook, bring the queen to g3, and focus on some kingside attack. That's definitely something that white would love to do in these positions. Black has yet to develop. I never played the Taimanov. I played the Scheveningen. And Scheveningen, you're playing with b5, bishop b7. Here it's tricky to get to play that because, you know, bishop f3 and maybe e5. So you have to be careful as black with the development of the bishop. Another Taimanov. Well, yes, white is getting the Maruti-Bine kind of structure, and black at some point. So it is tricky. I remember I was analyzing this at some point, and I thought always that black should play d5, because d5 is generally the main theme, the main idea that black follows through to attack center. But this is a bit different with the pawns on c4 and on e4. A lot of the times, actually, black plays e5, not d5. e5 because they want to make sure that bishop actually gets to do something. So a lot of the times after white castles and black castles, and we get this bishop out or something. Black plays d6, and then the bishop has a, you know, square to be developed. Either e6 or g4 is gonna be brought back to g6, so it's gonna be a good, good kind of approach for black. So e5 is the move. If you happen to play this, please do remember that that is what you want to do. Okay, we have an advanced French with a6, a3. What's the purpose of this move for those of you who are not familiar with? Well, in a lot of systems, white's trying to get these two pieces out, right? So when this bishop gets out, a lot of the times the queen is in b6 and we're struggling because the pawn is hanging. So one reason to play a3 is to support b4 and give yourself a little bit more space, put pressure on c5, and force black to make up their mind whether they're going to push or take. And notice I'm showing takes in d4. Keep it in mind if you're ever playing this with black. Do not take in b4. Taking in b4 also allows white to recapture with the a pawn, and actually those positions can be better even if white remains with this backwards pawn. Actually, the pawn structure sometimes is better with the a capture. So you generally, when you have options to capture in two places and you think it's the same, double check it. Likely it's not. So, got you, chess lover. Okay, I remember you were there a couple of years ago, so that's why I let you know. Hope everything is going well with you and your daughters. So here, another reason why a3 is good is when the trade happens, black is going to put pressure on white's king by playing knight b4, bishop b4, something like that. Well, put pressure. More like create some threats with knight b4. Knight b4 is also against the bishop in d3. So, you know, a3 stops all of those ideas. That's basically what you're doing, and you're supporting b4 too. And now looks like black has chosen to go for the exchange there. And bishop b2. And of course, we're not panicking that the bishop is placed behind a chain of pawns. That's alright. This pawn oftentimes gets to be weak. So placing the bishop there helps with making sure that it doesn't get captured by this knight and that that pawn is safe and sound. And sometimes white supports g4. It doesn't always work. Just keep in mind, if you do consider playing g4, this is typically the response that you'll get from black. So as long as that move is good, can be played, and is creating some good position for black, you probably don't want to weaken your king. Just a heads up. Okay, white is threatening maybe to capture in f5 with an interesting position. Okay. Well, busy is good, chess lover, I think, right? I don't know. For me, busy is always good. I'll take busy anytime. But that's me. It doesn't mean that everyone should be like me. We all have our own ways. 4 knights. This is cute. Don't you dare take the knight, because you're going to lose the queen. So black needs to find a good spot for the queen. d5, f5. We'll be playing rook e1, bishop f4, maybe queen d3, c4, things like that. And white's pawn structure is slightly better, but black has the bishop pair. So it's kind of like a Berlin, just that in the Berlin, white actually has the pawn on e5, and it gives white a mobile majority on the king side. In this case, nobody has a majority anywhere. We just have a slightly better pawn structure. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you get better soon. This weather change has been messing up with many of of our healths, I think. I never know what to expect, if it's gonna be like, okay, the snow, we haven't had snow in a while, but like Is it gonna be in the 50s? Is it gonna be in the 80s? Are we gonna get 100 degrees? Is the swimming pool going to get opened? That's what I'm looking forward the most. As a chess player, if you do want to become a stronger chess player, and generally for life, for health reasons, I think it's important to have some kind of sport that you do as a complementary to chess. We spend so many hours playing the game. We spend so many moments thinking about moves, about a board, 64 squares, that at some point our mind needs some relaxation, and you need for the strengthening of your body and for everything to have some kind of sport complementary. Take my advice, please don't only do chess. Make sure you're going out, either running, swimming, tennis, whatever kind of sport you enjoy the most, but please spend some time to do some of that. For me, it's swimming. That's something I like to do. It reminds me of my mom, the time that she and I were training together. That was our favorite thing to do. So I'm always looking forward to to an empty swimming pool so that I can get my exercise and I can take my mind a little bit off chess, so that after that I'm just really ready to focus. And well, that's not happening for now, so yeah. But take the advice, choose your sport and make sure you complement it with chess. All right, that position is still in the early stage. Black didn't lose the queen, of course, so we can catch up with some of the other games. We had another French over here, one of those tarashes. And I used to play this line too. Queen d6, queen c7, bishop here, try to get h2. I remember these lines. At least that's how I think they were. I don't see the queen going to c7, but why would black play bishop d4? That's not where the bishop belongs. Maybe Suresh thought that is gonna win something, but knight c4 is very strong. You go there. Oopsie daisy, someone's gonna lose some material. Somehow. Maybe not yet. Maybe rook d1. We'll have some discovered takes. Maybe queen d5 directly, so you don't have time for this, because at least I'll win some material if you go for everything here. I feel like maybe I'll take with the pawn. Okay. But we can go after this. What can we do? I mean, maybe we just go rook b1. There's something better than that. There's another in-between move? Or we just take the bishop? I guess we just take, fine, we just take it. And then maybe bishop e3. Or bishop g5, looks nice. Actually, bishop b2. Why am I trying to develop it to the other side? This is much more convenient. It's with tempo on the long diagonal. Arabella is enjoying a good position there. Ethan is back on the top boards, so he didn't give up. That's good to know. So he's on 3 points now. He's lost on round 2. The players have played 4 rounds so far. And he's playing an aggressive line against the Khan. Does make a lot of sense. Bishop d7 probably, and g5. Knight d7. I think bishop e3. And white will likely castle long, and will have some ideas for some sacrifices, or for f5. Lots of thoughts as to what would be good, but we have some good ideas there. Tariq chose, I don't know what system this is. It looked like the Torah, but the knight is not in f6. So transpose to some peer. I'm surprised black chose to only play b6. Generally, the pawn goes to b5. b6 is a bit too passive. And I think in this specific position, a lot of people forget about this, but e5 is generally something that you always want to be on the look for. Specifically in situations where black plays the modern or the Pirk and develops the knight in f6 later. e5 should always be a move to be taken into consideration, because as trades happen, you are in some kind of trouble. Rook e1 allows e5. That's why we had to play it right now. Yeah, he played it. Okay, now white's advantage is kind of gone. It's pretty symmetrical, and I know the bar still shows a little bit for white, but I think black is okay here. It's one of those symmetrical positions. You want to try to figure out what's the best placement for your pieces. It takes time. It's not easy. What did we have over here? F3, okay. F3 Nimzo. Transposition to some kind of Benoni pawn structure. No, but this allows the... Doesn't this allow e5? I think a5 is fine for black, but c4 can be unpleasant, or bishop a6 maybe. No, bishop a6, this is hanging. So what if we take, and then rook e1, bishop a6, rook e8, sorry. Maybe just bishop a6. This is looking good for black. Well, I certainly hope VJ is coming back. He had a tough loss in round 3 this morning, so it will be nice to see him back fighting for the top places. So this is the current position. Black can do this, or black can take, and then... But okay, can we play king f2? I think if I were white, I'd play king f2, and I'd call it a day. I would call it a good day. Maybe queen e5 first. But then here? Do we have something even better than that? Is there a knight here by any chance? I completely forgot to look on that side of the board. Actually, where do you move the bishop? Because I'm threatening queen h4, queen takes e4, and that's looking really good for black. Really, really good. Oh, fried liver? No, not really. Not really the fried liver. This line. Oh, bishop d7. Okay, this is new. c6 is usually the main line. Isn't it like queen e2 or something? I think queen e2 is the move for white here. If you take, queen takes. Okay, black is perfectly fine now. No pawn down, no issues. Okay, bishop e7, I don't know. Is there something wrong with castling here? I think black can just be chill. Okay, I mean, I hope he castles long because it seems the right placement for the king. And then h6 can be played, bring in the rook on the file. Black is enjoying more space, still has ideas to build up a pressure on white's king. I think it's a very comfortable position for black, if you ask me. This is some kind of Sicilian. Did it switch to some kind of Mairotsi bind? No e4 was played yet. This is board 1 in the under 1700 rating, by the way, section. I think we can castle. I mean, ideally what black wants is rook here and d5, but I don't think it's going to be easy to do. Also, if I were white, I'd consider c5, because we're restricting the pawn from advancing, and then black will remain with some weaknesses. So if we have the chance to do that, I think it would be great. It would be great in that one. Oh, wow. Oh, now we have, this is a new line. I gotta admit, it is only this year or maybe late last year that I learned that this variation actually existed. I never thought about that move. One of my students was actually not very strong, showed me a game, and I was like, what is this? What is this move? Where did you come up with it? He's like, no, you don't know. There's some videos. Like, oh, okay. And the more you look at it, the more you realize, wait a second. Actually, this is quite interesting. But the point is, so after the queen takes castle, yeah. And I don't think it was a knight f3. I mean, obviously. Is it queen f3 or pawn f3? Pawn f3, I don't know. Bishop c5. I think it's queen f3 maybe? And if you play e4, then we move the queen over here. You can castle long, and then I think this is what he showed me. And if white is greedy and goes for the pawn, it's kind of like the fried liver. We got e3 and then g2. G2 is the targeted square. Just be careful not to fall for it. Not to fall for the loss of the pawn. Okay. I like black's position. I'm just trying to decide if I want to play this or develop my bishop. Maybe we'll develop. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be even more fancy. I will go for g5. g5, g4, why not? I'm loving it. Black will put some pressure. You gotta be careful with white for g5. I mean, it's the thing to go. Oh, a3. Okay, this is not typically kind of move you play against the semi-Slav. A lot of the times it's a waste of a move. I mean, generally after e6, white plays e3, or if you want to be more aggressive, you go for bishop g5 and you allow for the capture of the pawn. and you're studying this very long Botvinnik variation that you know, just you need to memorize this. I forgot if it's bishop e7 or 97. I think 97 takes. Oh yeah, it's 97 takes. Bishop b7. This queen goes out. Black castles. You need to know all these moves, and it's been only 12 or 11 until here. More to come later. So that's generally what people play. If you play e3 is cautious, you are protecting the pawn in c4, then you can play b3, bishop b2, queen c2, or you can just move the bishop and wait for them to take. They're gonna make you move the bishop a second time, but that's alright. Nobody says you cannot move it the second time. At least you get the center, so, you know, it will be accepted. But a3 is a bit unexpected to me personally. Like, yeah, I think it's white is mixing a bit too many ideas. Is missing like queen's gambit with bishop f4 and a3, and I don't know. 97 is normal, but I think probably the most normal is to actually take and see what you're gonna do about the pawn. And here I'd go knight d5 personally. Like, I'm sure there's something even better. Maybe b5 is even better. Just try to hold on to the extra pawn and see how white's using their resources to get it back. Black didn't seem to take advantage of it, and now... Okay, now we just got a normal Carlsbad pawn structure. I don't think... Knight g4 may be a threat. That's why rook e1 to go knight f1. Although I would play b4 if it were me. Knight g4, no worries. Knight f3. We're safe there, and white's plan is to get b5 in. And just open up the queen side. The king side is the place where black should be playing, generally. c5 is the targeted move. Gioco pianissimo. Gioco pianissimo here. Traded the bishops. So all theoretical, typical ideas for white. Rook e1. I mean, generally people play knight e2 first, and then move the rook, and then get in the knight. But change of moves doesn't change the evaluation or anything like that. d4 takes. Okay. So black just dropped the pawn, huh? The problem is you cannot move the queen in either one of those squares because the knight forks you. And yeah, I guess you just dropped the pawn. So queen d8 was a bad move. How to stop knight b6 though? A rook d8 or something, but I mean... Actually, I can just take. And that's a free pawn. So black messed up earlier. He has to try to play maybe c5 bishop bishop d8. If you take, I mean, I guess you can take en passant. This is definitely not an option. Maybe knight g6, knight h5, queen f7. It's probably the best idea for black. Keep the bishop on the diagonal to put pressure, and then wait for them to attack it or bring in the bishop to e3 to trade it. Meanwhile, black can improve. I mean, after all, the f file is open, so why would you just leave it free like that without doing anything? So black just dropped a pawn, huh? Oh, knight g7 works too. Wow. So probably rook f7 hand. I mean, no. Okay. Queen g4, right? Queen g5. e5. This looks scary. Okay, after queen g5 check, black can play knight g6. So what do we do after this? We do have these ideas, but we also have these ideas that I think are good. And white is doing better. White needs to focus on opening up the position for the rooks, because they got 2 rooks. They need to find a way to activate them, put them on active squares. As for black, they need to get in the knights and the rook, but it's tough because we got a rook and 2 pawns for the 2 minor pieces, and the 2 knights don't really have nice outposts. They don't really have targeted squares to consider, well, I'm gonna win something. So definitely taking white in that position. And we had another London. Queen c2. I do not know. I've seen a couple of times people placing the queen in c2. I don't believe that is the right square. I always put my queen in e2 when I'm playing the London, if I'm playing the London. In the Torre, in a lot of openings where the opponent has c5 and has the ability to take, or play c4 and push my bishop back, definitely I need the bishop to stay on this diagonal. That's the reason why the queen can never be, in my opinion, in c2. That's one of the reasons. Because you need that bishop to be able to go to c2. Instead of the queen. So the queen goes to e2 to support e4, and then when trades happen in e4, the queen recaptures. And then with the queen in front of the bishop, then you definitely have targeted squares to attack on. But like this, not so much. Because now all of white's plan with e4 is gone. The only thing we have is knight e5, but this doesn't help so much because that's not an outpost. Look at that. Bishop e8, I love that move because it's gonna play f6 and black's bishop will be brought to a better square. Look at that. He did it. He's bringing the knight towards b3. I mean, there's nothing wrong to place the knight in b3 and win the bishop, but I guess you can do it almost any time, so maybe bishop d6 to trade could work. Bring the other rook into the game, right? Looks good. Wow, they've been only playing for an hour. They already got in an endgame? How did this happen? How come everyone is playing the fried liver? I mean, it's not the fried liver, this Polario attack or something, I think it's called. And now we see this other line. See? Queen f3. Queen f3 is the other tricky one. You're pinning the pawns, so normally they can't take as you take in e8, and unless you are familiar with that line, you probably shouldn't play it. Bishop here is what you play generally to try to castle, and white at some point does need to retreat with the bishop. Generally, this is the spot to retreat, to also stop e4 and stuff. Castle, knight c3, h6, let's presume, knight e4, and black is okay. Knight d5, f4, f5. That looks good. Oh. Black must have not realized he's dropping another pawn. So he's down 2 pawns, and their king is in the center. Okay, 3 pawns now. We got the head count to 3. Okay, white gave some stuff, but everything is covered in white's territory. All they have to do is start marching the h and g pawns, and white's on the way to win. What is the best move here for black? I'm not really sure, actually. Is it bishop g4? Oh, that's what was played. Knight g4, but then they take. What about knight d3? I guess that's a no also. Because the knight kind of stays, actually maybe queen takes. And white is up a pawn. I do not know. I do not know what's the best move. I mean, obviously we need to try to not be down material. We're up a piece, and he forked us. I mean, is it just takes? I don't think so. I mean, queen takes looks bad. Does anyone know? I thought he's bringing the queen somewhere, but like, I don't have. Maybe just go back, and then when they take, nah. Back cannot be. I mean, okay, it's better than nothing, but it's not so good. It's some tempo move. How can we avoid losing that much material? Bishop d3? Knight f3. Queen takes. I feel like I've tried everything. I've tried everything. I do not know. I'm stuck. I'm stuck on this position. I'm not gonna go away until I find it, so if you want to help, please do. Hmm? Hmm. Actually, that would be good, but we take and then you lose a piece. I think I tried everything. I tried knight g6 and knight g4 and knight d3 and bishop d4 and bishop b6 and bishop d3 and knight f3, which is a bishop d6. And what else didn't I try? Bishop e4? But I mean, what does this do? Well, it's better than nothing, but bishop here? But it's just, the problem is he takes that bishop, so I feel like the bishop needs to be taken, but here it just doesn't help. Here it still doesn't help. So here, but then again it doesn't help. So we want to take save the bishop, but I don't know. I feel so bad. I do not know what the move is. Is it bishop takes b1? No, because you still don't do anything. Only if somehow the queen comes in and then has some mating threats. Like with knight f3 or something. I don't know, this probably could have allowed f3, which is what white didn't play, but that's the reason why we don't go there. Knight g4 he takes. So black can maintain advantage here with a move. And everything else seems to be bad. c6 is better than nothing. c6 is better than nothing. This was some bishop d3. I tried, but bishop d3 is not doing so much. Not this, sorry, rook e1. You still have those pieces hanging. We can't do anything about that. Yeah. I tried knight d3, but then the problem is after that your knight will be hanging in d5. I know. This is knight c6. Knight c4. If it's knight c4, I will die. It's not. Thank goodness. Still alive. It has to be something useful. Did I try queen h4? I did. I don't know. I feel like it's something. Maybe rook e8. Rook e8. Why did they think of that? Why didn't I? So now what? c6? if you take, I think we're good, right? Because we maintain the bishop on the... So if you take in c4, that's the question that I'm trying to figure out what happens. In c5, I mean. Maybe now we go bishop d3, and if you go rook e1, we'll have some discover checks or something. No, but this they take, right? Wait, what? There's a mate? Oh, knight g4. Oh. There we have it, my friends. It's tricky, but we have some ideas. We have some ideas. It only took me 15 tries. I guess rook e8, just a normal move. I was looking for something too fancy. So I guess white's king is safe now. Because we have queen g5 or bishop g5. And we're up 2 pieces. So likely white's on his way to win. Ooh! Wow. This is already over. Let's see what happened in this game. So it was a Caro-Kann. It is very important to keep in mind we don't always put the bishop in g4 to take the knight immediately. Generally we go to pin it if we're sure of the winning of material or the destruction of the pawns around the king side is going to be troublesome, then yeah, we'll take. But otherwise, I think we should think twice before capturing, because now, yeah, the pawn was potentially sacrificed, and this is reminiscent of what game? The opera game. That is the Paul Morphy game against the Duke and Count. So there's no way for black to defend that. Oh, well, there was a way, but not this. Actually, should he have taken first? And then? I think so. And then take there. Because this way at least black... Oopsie, that's not what I meant to do. What did I do? Black might have the ability to develop. Okay, this just drops the rook. He probably missed bishop e3, so now he's down in exchange. And a pawn, it looks like it's 2 pawns. Okay, now it is 2 pawns. And white is up a 4. Okay. Alright. So this was a pretty intense game, for sure. It's good to know some classics, to kind of know the ideas that have been introduced at the time. I'm gonna take a break. It's been a really long day for me. Probably for you too if you've been around. So I'm going to be taking a break for now. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes, pick up something to drink. And I will leave you guys with the top 8 boards in the championship section. And please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any questions. If there's something particular you want me to remind you of. Don't forget you have the pinned link to the actual games if you want to look at them on your own and you find something interesting for when I come back. If there's a game that interests you more than others, I'm always ready to discuss it with you. Other than that, I will be taking the break, and I'll see you guys in about 15 minutes or so. Thanks for staying close. Yeah, like most normal moves. So if you're looking at these games, try to consider normal moves, because clearly we've been trying we've been trying too hard for the previous position to find the best moves, and there's nothing. Like, the best move was rook e8. Anyways, we'll see you guys in just a little bit. Thank you for... See you in a little bit. All right, everyone, we are back. Looks like some games have changed a little bit. Not that much. Not that much since I left off. So let's get into the action. Welcome, Jaeger. Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope everything's good. I hope you're having a good evening. So we stopped around here somewhere where the bishop came to c4, and yeah, like I expected some trades to happen, but okay, Brian in the past has been able to outplay his opponents from equal positions, just kind of slowly improving. This knight is coming towards d5, bishop g5. Definitely this knight has to go to the outpost, because otherwise black will be able to give up the bishop. So basically what you want in these types of positions where actually giving up the outpost in d5 is to make sure that the dark square bishop is going to go be traded for one of those pieces that can go to d5 if possible. So because the bishop will never be able to control. Now that white made it there, I think it's safe to say that white's position is more comfortable. As to what we'll do next, that remains to be seen based on how black reacts. Right now we have pressure in a6. If queen goes to b7, I'm thinking this, but it probably is not sufficient for white. So maybe we have something even better than that if queen b7 is played. Maybe we'll try some g3, h4. This is sometimes something that white does in these types of positions. Maybe f4. Normal at Super. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. It's been a while. Yeah, I mean, white is enjoying a more pleasurable position. Going on to this game, what do we need to catch up with? So it was that aggressive line where black has won a pawn, and now the question is, how is white going to create the compensation for it? The compensation is going to have to be related to black's king in the center, that's for sure. I mean, we know this. We know that king is in the center. We know we want to. So now that the knights get traded, bishop takes, I believe, and then I think white needs to break through either with e4 or f4, or both. Just basically make sure that the king is going to stay in the center. Like, that is the goal of the position. I know it says that's a good move, but we'll take with the bishop breakthrough and we'll be fine. Alright, Megan is playing a player who is half a point ahead, so she's definitely looking to try to outplay him. I see her often playing without the bishop, so two knights versus the bishop pair, and though, you know, I'm a huge fan of having knights, in some situations that's not necessarily something to always want to play for, you know, like. Oh wait, there's more moves. I thought that was it. I thought we caught up. Alright, she's creating some chances this way. She's creating some chances. Actually, that's a nice idea. Giving up the e pawn in order to get the c pawn. But is she fully creating chances? Black's pawn structure is destroyed. I'll give her that. I'll give that. Should we go for rook f3, trying to get that pawn, giving this one? But we care more about winning stuff. But generally, you know, I don't like giving up pawns that are nicely protected and everything. Maybe we should go a4. Hold on to the pawn. Why would we give a healthy? I would call that a healthy pawn. It's connected. For this one, which is weak. and it stays there for a long time. Hey, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna, you know, keep it. Keep it on the board. I like a4. So if she finds a4, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good for her. Slightly better position for white. What have we encountered here? I always find it interesting when people play rook c1. I get it. I get the idea of wanting to move the knight and then maybe play c3. But sometimes it just feels so sad for the rook. I mean, the rook needs open files. D file is the place we want to put it. Generally, we play a3. But it looks like white chose to put the rook in c1 as opposed to playing a3. So probably just wants to push the c pawn. Now bishop g5. Maybe knight queen g3 would have been a bit more like nicer. With some attacking ideas. But I don't know if white was forced to take or what happened there. Okay, but we have opposite color bishops. There's not much for white to go by here. And I don't know that we want to play this move. So, maybe knight d1. But it looks a bit too passive, guys. It's just too passive. I don't like choosing that passive approaches. I mean, this would be what I'd like to do for sure, but yeah. I have the feeling we're going to see a sacrifice in g7. Look at the king in the corner. Look at the bishop looking towards g7. Knight can come in. Court king. I'm agreeing with you. Yes, but can we actually take advantage? I was thinking to do this, you know, but it doesn't work because he can push the f pawn and it's not mate. And I was thinking to take an h7, but that doesn't work either. That's why they always play. But what about e5? E5 is looking kind of nice. The point is white's gonna put pressure on h7. So oh, oops, what did I do? No, apologies, guys. That's not going to. I don't want to look at that. A bit more done. Perfect. So if we go e5, if he plays g6, we're gonna take first, or not. I know there's a mate. I know there has to be something. I wish I could do this, because look how cute. Oh, it's not even mate. Ah. Alright, so what do you say? e5, g6. What do we do now? I don't know. No suggestions from the chat. Okay. Can I take? And then I take. Yes, that's the way. That's the way I like it. And then we have. Wait a second. We take over the rook. If we took it the bishop, he would take, and then, you know, they take the queen. Checkmate. That's it. That's the winning line. No, but seriously, I mean, this does look pretty fine for white. I'm not quite sure how black defends. I guess you can play h6, but again, we'll have the ability to take here, and we'll open up the king. Yeah, white has just won 2 pawns in the process of opening a black's king, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it looks like rook h4 was not necessarily the best. It does give a little bit of time to black to regroup, and now he's blocked in the diagonal. So it's hard to imagine we'll get to do anything now. We'll have to retreat with the queen, go knight f5, g4, g5. You managed to defend. Phineas has rushed a little bit here. But hopefully he'll find another way. But he doesn't have time though. Oh my god, I just saw the time now. 18 minutes to an hour? Oh wow, that's not very ideal. Considering the time control is 90 with 10 seconds delay. It's not good. It's not at all. Okay. Alicia's trying to put some pressure on black's king. Not so much to be worried about. We can just retreat. This bishop will retreat and knight comes back into play through b5. Black is okay in that one. Hi, Spinal Tap. How is it going? How is it going? It's opposite color bishops, like. I have an extra pawn, but I think black should be able to hold if he blocks the d pawn. It's the only way you will be able to do something if you actually build up some attack. Because which ones are your kids? I don't know which ones are your kids. There's always different kids in different tournaments. You have to remind me. So tell me the names and we'll check up on them. Arabella was doing great earlier. Bam, bam. This is cute. Queen e7? You think you're safe? You think you're pinned? Oh, Tariq, unfortunately, he lost the previous round. Okay, Tariq, he lost, but I think he was doing well this round. But he lost the previous one. I did not expect him to do that. But it was a tough loss. His opponent really played very well. I don't think he had a worse position. Maybe temporarily he had some chances, but he had a bad position throughout, kind of. Maybe one moment he could have done better in the previous game. Who else? So I love that idea. We can't take because of the pin, obviously. Cheeky. Freebie. So now white is up a rook. A full rook. Black is still playing, but white is up a full rook. Okay, now she's up 2 full rooks. Okay, black is still playing. Okay, that will be a mate very soon. Very, very soon. Ethan is making his comeback with this pressure on black's king rook f2. I don't know about that move. Here's Tariq. Well, I guess he has the bishop pair. The question is, what's the best? What's the best approach? Do we take? I think so. I mean, and then we'll attempt the creation of a passpawn on the a file, I think. No g3s to allow knight h3. No, no, no. We have the bishop pair. a5. a5 is the right approach for white. Yeah, this looks good. That looks good. We're waiting for some more moves to be played. VJ. Confused as to why white didn't move the rook. I mean, obviously he's trying to get, but I think he miscalculated. He probably didn't see rook d8. He probably thought black had to take, and then he'd take, and then black would take, and then he'd take, and it's equal. But rook d8 is a nice in-between move, and after bishop e7 we take. When you capture, then the pawn in d5 will actually be hanging. Knight takes. You don't have time to play here because actually we'll just take your knight and we'll be up pawn, right? We can actually, can we trade queens? Bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam. No, we cannot trade queens just yet, but we can just centralize or check first. And black's better. Oh no! Oh, Liam fell for the deflection with rook d1 checky. Oh, I feel for Liam. But I mean, the position is tough already, but this is a tactic you want to try to avoid. If you take, you're gonna lose the queen, and obviously black has played h6, so there's no back rank. If you play here, there should be a cute little dovetail mate. This was supposed to be the arrow. I don't know why. Let me try again. This was the arrow I wanted to create. Dovetail. Okay, so VJ is back with 4 out of 5. That is a goodie. Okay, black is up a queen for a rook. He went on to win. Makes sense. Very nice. Wait, what? I mean, white is doing great here, but this just drops extra material. White could have taken everywhere. I'm confused. Honores played so good until now. Maybe the pressure of the tournament has taken the best of him, or maybe he thought he was winning something, but I mean, e3 just locks in the exchange, and then white's up a pawn, and then the knight comes to d5 too. And h4 as well is gonna go for the bishop. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened here. I think he just somehow misplaced this. This b5 is very strong, because the problem is we're trying to undermine the control over d5. So if that pawn is gone, white would put their knight in d5 after capturing in f6, right? So if you make this move, we're gonna take here, take, and kaboom. And you don't have that d8 square that normally you would have to place the queen back to protect the bishop. You don't have it, so you're actually losing material. That's why black is into some kind of trouble here, because that does not work. So white remains up a pawn here. Looks good for black. Queen takes probably. And maybe we'll have some rook lifts, knight g4, stuff like that. Okay, black is up a piece, but white has 3 pawns for the piece. And let's not forget, that is a knight. If everything gets traded off and we lose all of the 3 pawns with white, it still should be a draw. Rook knight versus rook is a draw. So black needs to make sure to hold on with their life of the pawn in h6, but it's not so easy. Because then it means the knight is bound to stay in f5. Which is not generally what you want to do. So this, maybe this. White is the one who is going to attempt to improve a little bit, but eventually those pawns might be lost and the game will end in a draw. Okay, the players agreed on a draw on this one. Oh, black was pretty active here. Okay. This knight endgame is certainly winning. He won the knight, and then they played till mate. Okay. Okay, white has won 2 pawns. I think we saw this position. And now is being cautious with the improvement. Wait a second, is this really a win? Okay, black has made it easy. Just because white didn't push the pawn on on h7 just yet. So just to be clear, so if we just sit here, if white pushes here, there's a big chance for a draw. But only if white trades one of the pawns. If they don't, if they make their way with the king, so like if you just sit here, white's gonna make their way with the king. We also can play b4, like it doesn't matter. Does it? No, it doesn't. So white's gonna make their way, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we can just sit. I'll just show you. Black needs to stay on those 2 squares, or else there is a skewer. So we make our way all the way to here to get ourselves unpinned. This rook has to stay, and then I mean, might as well just play here so that he doesn't check us or anything. If we go there, there's gonna be a check, so obviously we're not. They can give us a few more checks, and then we make our way to this pawn. Now pretend black's gonna play here and try to get us in Zugzwang. So when you do that, then they try to kind of restrict you or something. You cannot win with the b pawn, because as you advance it forward, you're not gonna be able to win. So you have to kind of be careful on how your king is going to advance. You have to kind of get them in Zugzwang, right? So when you do this, they sit, and then if you do this, they sit again. Now you're gonna win because you protected your pawn. This rook moves. Now you can free up your rook and you win. But you know, since that doesn't work, when we approach around here, they need to move the rook back so that they can give us checks in the back, right? So white needs to avoid getting stuck there. What we need to try to do is, as they check us, we need to try to find the path to be able to enter to win the pawn. So that's very important. Or have the ability to get our rook away. At some point we can even give up that pawn, but if for example they didn't check us and they just played here, yeah, I know you guys keep saying this, that there's not so much that I can do. The point is, you I don't want you guys to hear background noises, so it has a filter, and the filter does reduce a little bit the volume, but it should be loud enough. If you put it on max, it should be loud enough. I'm listening to it after and I see no problem. It's posted on YouTube also, so I apologize if some of you are struggling with it, but if you put your volume on max, it doesn't even need to be on max, like just normal volume, you should be good to go. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do to change. So you think that this is winning, but it's actually not, because we're going to give a check first, and then as soon as this king goes away, then we'll capture, okay? And black will draw this. So white has to be super precise with the win. That's why generally you don't want to play b4. I mean, that should still be winning. Where was I? Sorry, what did I do? I don't know what they did. So we go there. If they go, we need to get them in zugzwang. Sorry. See, this is what they are going to try to do in order to keep us and like restricted and not have the ability to go grab the b5 pawn, because if we grab the b5 pawn, we're winning, right? So what is the actual way for white to win? Does anyone know? Zugzwang is what we tend to do. We're trying to get them there so that we can advance here. Then the rook will have to go back, and then we'll come here, and then we'll try to take the pawn. If he goes there, we're gonna play here. And now it's not the same thing because we can put the rook in front. And when they do that, we can wait, if we check, we're not winning. We can just take, and we have 2 extra pawns. So when we go here, does anyone know how white is gonna try to win? I think this is actually a draw. The only way is to at some point get the rook away and put it in front, but we don't get to, and this is the reason why we don't play b4 in that position. Okay, so we're gonna bring in our king, just the easy path. It makes things much easier when you don't push the h pawn. I just This doesn't win. Ah, okay, my bad. We need to take the opposition. Like this, my bad. We need to kind of take the opposition. I kept forgetting where to do it. So we have to take the opposition there. And now white is winning. This is the only way, because otherwise you don't have the chance to win this pawn. If you don't give up the a pawn, you don't have the chance to win it. Black will be able to create some kind of fortress. And it seems for a long time that it's a draw, but it's not. That's why things are much easier when white hasn't pushed the pawn just yet, because they can put the rook there and bring in the king, and that's going to be a completely different story. The rook will after that go out, and it will be freed up, and then we'll have the chance to win. But black made things easy, because now after h7 the king is badly placed, so white can just give a check. Okay, I won the rook, and now it's gonna be over. Very nice finish. White's up a piece. Okay, we've seen that one, and that seals the deal with the with reviewing all of the games. Okay, white's done a great job. Now these two pawns, specifically this one, is more advanced than any of these two, so white's just gonna make its way to improvement. White's gonna make its way to improvements. There's not so much you can do. He actually ended up winning this game. Looks like it's over already. Beautifully played by Brian. He totally outplayed his opponent. Like, it was about equal out of the opening. And then if you look at how the game progressed, like just kind of replay the game, he took in f6, so he gave up the correct piece that was not controlling d5, and now he's going back, bringing in the knight into the game, the bishop, and black just made a mistake. The knight made its way to d5. I think this was important. It is always important whenever you see the opponent has a chance to bring a knight to the outpost, you have to stop them. Like, you just have to stop them. And then the story was written. Very beautiful. Nice win by Brian. So he goes on to being 5 out of 5 going into the final round. Less pressure on him, but still some, because obviously he wants to win the competition. So he still has 2 rounds to go tomorrow, where he will have to give it his best shot. These two players are also on 4 out of 4, and I was suggesting e4 and f4 for white. I'm a bit surprised he didn't try to go any of those moves. This king of blacks is in the center. If you don't try to take advantage of it now, I don't know when you will. Black can just take the pawn. Let's see if Megan's been able. She did give up the a2 pawn, so I was suggesting in this position to play a4. Just simply don't give up the pawn. That will be a weakness. We'll go back for it later. But it looks like she went back, but she didn't take it yet. She's focused on making sure b3 is not going to be lost, and now she takes that one. And it seems that black has made a mistake here by playing g6. What would have been the correct continuation, though? If not g6. Don't tell me it's check and queen h7. That's just too much. Too sad. Too much too sad. Ah, or maybe just check and then g6. Because at least the queen controls. So now we can play g6 without allowing the sacrifice. Oh no. Ishan allowed the sacrifice. And now it's winning for white. Because white wins the queen. Or wait, does he win the queen? Does she win the queen? I think she does. That was the fastest way to winning this. Rook g3. King f7. Check. This is probably not leading to anything. we run out of steam. Then the rook doesn't get into play. Wait a second. Wait a second. But okay, wait, we have other checks. This is more of an unpleasant check. Okay, apologies, thousands apologies. If you go there, you're gonna get mated. So you need to go somewhere up, but then the rook comes into play. And, well, I don't know where yet. Maybe here? And then... checky, and then the rook comes into play. And white should be on the way to winning this. Very nice found by Megan. So she's possibly on her way to win that. She just needs to make sure she gives the right checks to coordinate her rook and the queen, otherwise she's not going to be able to convert, of course. She has to be careful for that. Black is pretty safe on the king side. He has the bishop pair, and if he focuses on the c file, this is that game where white ended up playing rook c1, which I didn't quite understand. I thought the rook belonged to d1 personally. I thought there was some idea for the rook to help the c-pawn push, but I guess it never happened. Bishop b5, I like it. Just pin the knight, and then I think rook c8. And now it's black who's building up the initiative. And I'm not quite sure what white can do to improve here. I was thinking this to threaten the rook, and then if you don't do a good job, then you'll go to f8 probably. Otherwise, white was gonna take an f6, but okay. But Kai had managed to defend very well. You remember this was that game that I was suggesting e5, and after g6, I was saying rook takes f7. I really wanted this to work, it didn't, and then we went back, and then we realized the correct move was bishop takes g6. And black didn't quite have a defense. This would have been really gorgeous. But white ended up playing rook h4, which allowed black to regroup, keep the king safe, and you know, now it's just a matter of time for black's pieces to get back to some good positions. White is still better, but yeah, it's not so. Maybe rook here, bishop a3. I wonder if g4, g5 works. How aggressive do we need to be as white? Maybe we don't need to be, but maybe we do need to place. Nah, it's too much. It's too much weakening of the position. I think queen h5 makes some sense. Or should we take first and then queen h5? Probably even better. Makes things more forcing. I mean, we're definitely winning a pawn, but after that it's not gonna be super obvious. It's like the bishop versus knight, you know? It's definitely something. But extra pawn, you know, we'll take the extra pawn and we'll go from there. G6, F5, okay. Queen takes F5. Not easy follow-up for white in this position to put pressure on black's king. Not easy at all. Opposite color bishops, I told you, extra pawn. Black managed to stop this pawn from advancing further. So unless you find some way to attack, this game likely will end in a draw. Arabella have finally ended up checkmating. Very good. I'm not liking Ethan's position. He didn't get any attack. Wait, can white take that knight in f4 or is it too much? So we have a pawn for the exchange. White may want to try something better, but I do not want to lose my bishop in g2, and d5 is also hanging. So I feel like we don't have many choices with white. If we go rook d1 to protect that pawn, they're gonna take, and so I think Ethan kind of has to go for the sacrifice in f4. The problem is, if he doesn't win this game, of course, his chances for the title are completely gone. So he needs to make sure he's focused on the goal. But I think that position, evaluation wise, is definitely gives white, you know, better vibes of winning chances. I know we don't keep the bishop pair, but black's king is going to be in some kind of danger. Now let's see, Tariq is not winning here. He's doing better. He's definitely doing better. I would play e5. If you take, we take. That pawn is gonna be very strong, supported by two bishops. That's a lot. That is definitely a lot. Okay. This was Vijay's game. Black won there. This is the game where Onur was struggling here. We're gonna recapture, but black's pawn structure is really bad. They're down a pawn, and this knight, once it goes to e4, it just starts marching the c and b pawns forward, and there's not so much to come back from, actually, for poor black there. This looks balanced. I thought black was slightly worse at some point. Oh no, this is the game where they were better. Black was a bit better. White put some pressure. I like actually that c6 was attractive, because now the bishop is restricted and black's king open up a bit. But you know, he's not that weakened on the king's on the side where the king is to be really worried about, I think. And white is behind too. It's difficult to bring in these pieces into the game because there's pressure on d2. So, I mean, it's about balance, that position. Do you guys think that black or white, one of them, will be able to actually outplay they're gonna draw? 94, stopping the pawn from advancing. I told you, that needs to be done. Now, maybe now white can try to make its way with the king to try to grab somehow that pawn. At least go away from the back rank. We don't want to stay on the mate. That's okay, so that was a draw, and alright. It's a nice win by Brian. And what else have we missed in Just Shoot's game? Where wasn't Just Shoot's? Yeah, this is the game where he was doing better, but Srikar is outplaying him. He's up. He's gonna be up, potentially, material. So the question is, do we take or do we not? I don't think we take, but I don't see it being really that bad. Maybe rook f4? Took, okay. I presume white's ready to recapture. I think if we go back, we avoid, you know, hanging the bishop. We can put the bishop in d5. As for the king, I don't know, maybe we'll go rook c8 to trade it, to trade both rooks. And then the king might need to stay on this side of the board to avoid the bunch of checks. So black's on his way. Okay. Looks like Megan has found the right approach. Gave a couple of checks. Okay, she put the rook, queen in it. Cute. Very nice. So now if you go there, we're gonna have a mate. If you go here, it's a mate in 1. If you go here, checky. Oh, sorry, that's not mate. Checky. 6. Wait, where's the mate? Ah, queen e7, apologies. Queen e7, rook g6. Queen g7 or something mate. Mate with the queen, sorry. King h8. Queen h4. Very, very nice. Very nice win by Megan. Good job. Okay, she's on 4.5 now out of 5. Big chances to catch up with the leaders in the final 2 rounds and maybe win or be a co-champion of the event. It looks like white did go for the move I suggested. Bishop takes f6. And then black played here. What's the winning move? I was gonna say queen takes h6, but there's queen takes f6, so I cannot go for that line. I was gonna, but I cannot. And if I take, knight takes, so that doesn't really help much. How is white winning now? I mean, you still don't want to take the bishop, to be fair. We could technically move it. Or maybe go queen f7? But what's the threat? Just to take the knight. But then he takes. No, we cannot do that. Maybe. Is it takes? Oh, this is so beautiful. I almost missed it. If they take with the king, we have f6 checky. And I don't know where you go, but we'll be taking our threatening two mates. You can't protect. And if you take with the bishop, we are still playing f6, threatening to take the bishop and checkmate in h7. It's so gorgeous. That idea would have been so gorgeous. Ay, ay, ay. White missed that. Took in e7. Still has winning chances, but now it's gonna be opposite color bishops. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, they play over the board. These games are over the board, and they're playing on DGT boards, so we are getting the transmission of the games online, and there's a delay, right? So they're not playing in real time, but not quite. The delay is 2 moves. So as soon as they made their third move, we see the first one that they made. Okay, I guess black allowed still this beautiful f6 move by capturing the bishop in e7. I assume they're gonna take this one, but maybe f6 still would have worked. Okay, so I guess that wins too. Okay, I don't know which is nicer, bishop e7 or bishop g7. I somehow missed. I somehow thought it would be opposite color bishops. It's nah. Okay, cute finish by Phineas. Nice one. Okay, if the queens get traded off, it's gonna be a draw. We know White doesn't want to trade. They attempted some movements. Not much has happened. So did Ethan take the knight? No, he did not. So I was suggesting taking the knight, taking the bishop, taking the pawn, and we have queen f6, rook f1, knight h6, like quite a bunch of ideas for White. Then I think would be difficult for black to meet. White did go for this, but one move later. Does it matter? I don't know. I think it might. Maybe black will just take the knight if you're taking g7 now. This is scary. This game is scaring me for Ethan. Tariq. What did we say here? I think we're saying takes and stuff. Okay, White's probably gonna take. No, this is okay for White. There's no. I thought there was a blunder, but no. We're seeing this. Onur is struggling here. He's down way too much. White's passed pawns should just march by themselves. The a pawn just advances. There's nothing that we can do about it. Nothing at all. White's okay here. Looks like black was able to win one of the pawns. White should better hurry and try to get the h1. Alright, h4. d7 and king h3. Yeah. Okay, once that pawn is captured, this game may last forever because it's rook knight versus rook. The h pawn eventually will be lost, so the question is, does White know to draw this? That is the question. In theory, it's a draw, but you're playing. This is not one of those automatic draws that's being given to you. No. 50 moves roll. 50 moves. Wait, did we see that this ended? Oh yeah, this was a perpetual. Very nice. And then the rest, I think they're decided. We already know. Okay, so let me check how many games remain, actually. So only 8 games remain. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a final break. Maybe it's gonna be shorter, maybe 10 minutes break, because there are only 8 games remaining, and I think we want to be on the look with them. The players still have about 40 minutes of play or something like that. 40 to 50 minutes of play. So I'm gonna switch the transition, leave you with the top 8 boards. I only left you with the all active games so that you don't have to worry about what's going on here. Um, so I'll leave you with these games, and I will be back in about 10 minutes. Please stay close, and let's see what these final minutes will bring for round 5 in the National Middle School Chess Championship in Round Rock, Texas. I will be back with you very, very soon. Stay close. All right, guys, looks like in my break there were quite a few games that finished, so I think we should catch up with everything going on just to make sure we're not missing the most important moment. So, looks like we have two players with 5 out of 5. So, Brian is one of them, and Srikar was able to outplay Jashit and is leading the tournament as well with 5 out of 5. Megan has won her game, so only two players. So it looks like tomorrow in the morning we're going to see Brian Lin playing against Srikar Kandikayala. So Srikar actually will have the white pieces, but you know, always double check the pairings. Don't just believe me. Make sure I I've checked properly. So nice win by Megan here. Megan is going to be on sharing third place with a few other players. This game ended in a draw. So the players agreed on a draw, and I think it's definitely a good result for Elliot. The position is starting to be a bit, tricky. I think this queen can be trapped. I don't know if we can take and then try to infiltrate with the queen, or maybe we can just attempt protecting the bishop somehow, and then this pawn is hanging, the queen is kind of trapped, not quite ideal. So offering a draw there is definitely the right approach. Black probably should have played on, but they decided to accept it. This was a beautiful finish. I did like bishop g7 just for the aesthetics a bit more, because we're sacrificing another piece, but obviously the way the game finished was also pretty cool. So Phineas is winning that. Alicia was doing quite well earlier, but I think she did mess up a little bit her attack. And now they're going into this end game where I mean, black cannot take because of knight e6, but it does look like it's pretty balanced in this position. There's one of the games that remains. Another game that remains is this one, the next one. This was the bishop, opposite color bishop endgame with the queen that I predicted likely could end in a draw. I didn't really see any progress for the past few moves. I mean, obviously there's some pawn pushes, so nobody can claim 50 move repetition, 50 move rule for a while. But in a good day, that should end in a draw. Then we're going to Ethan. Let's catch up with Ethan, because he did not make the sacrifice in f4 where I thought it had to happen. But it looks like, based on how the position looked when I showed you an overview of all of the games, it looked like he was doing really well. So it looks like his opponent just sacked here for no reason. Queen f6. So recently I've given my students, a few of my students, this kind of an idea, where you have to play queen f6, make sure the f-pawn doesn't push for, allowing the defense. It's kind of like Alekhine's block. Just Alekhine's block is generally sacrifices a knight or a bishop or a rook on f6. Here is different. The idea is the bishop is going to move and then we'll have a mate. So that's definitely kind of a cute approach. And then, okay, white's winning some material now. When you take in g7, we're going to go likely for rook f3, rook h3. This rook will be somewhat restricted. And, black is struggling with the defense for sure there. Then we have Tariq and Nirvan. So let's catch up with Tariq's game. I don't know if Spinal Tap is still here. But I thought he was doing quite well. Did he take? Yes, he did take, but then he went back. Bishop b3. Why is he attempting the trade of queens? Is he thinking that's better for him? It's like, oh, I guess if we play g3, there's knight h3, which I missed. What about... I was gonna be fancy and just drop the bishop, but I don't think I'll be too successful. I mean, I have some ideas, but I think I won't be too successful. This cannot be too safe for poor white. No, we cannot do that. It's just too much. What about rook c1? We're putting the rook on a check something here. What about queen e2? Black may want this bishop c5. So that's why the bishop got moved to try to trade queens. Is there no way to stop bishop c5 in any other fashion? What about prophylaxis? But it's just like, I really don't want to because I'm still staying on mate, but yeah, looks like it's working. If you do that, oopsie daisy. I'm opening up the queen. There. Pressure. I don't like the trade of the queens. I think black will definitely have some chances now. The knight goes to d4. Blocks in the bishop, and then if you trade opposite color bishops again. It's not easy. And last game in progress is this one. The knight should be much better than wait, why to h4? h3 is a nice move to keep. I wouldn't do that. I like this. Maybe this is also too aggressive. Maybe d3. Maybe d3 to create another wing. No. Oh, d3 loses? What? How? Oh, g4. g5. Oh! Do not do that. do not listen to me on this one. That's why h4 was played. Okay. Alright, I need to get back into chess mode. The break did not help. 96 maybe then? 96 or knight g6 to play 95? Knight g6, blocking the pawn. No, there's something better. Like, I feel it. Just king f2. Just bring in the king. But where exactly are we bringing it? I just don't know. I just don't know where we're bringing the king. There's no real entrance, right? So like, where exactly is the king going? This position got super locked in. Okay, black is trading. Nah, this game might end in a draw, my friends. It might end in a draw. The bishop is doing a great job. Anytime you'll go take it, bam, we take with the f-pawn. But seriously, I mean, I really want to see the winning continuation that I feel I'm missing here. Maybe just having the king here could allow these three to be played, because if you go g5, no, not yet. So maybe bring the king here, but like, okay. And then this, or d4? No, he takes. But there's no progress. Maybe this. No, he's... Seriously. Oh, I see this. Oh my goodness. These guys. It's so easy. Oh my god. King f2. King e1. The purpose is to restrict the bishop from escaping, my friends. h3. Go away, bishop. Now that the bishop is there, we're gonna bring the knight to go grab it. Okay? If you play bishop g2, we're gonna play knight g5. The bishop is trapped. Then we're gonna go king f2, king g1. Ah, that was the winning plan. Took a moment and a few failed tries. And that was tough. I'm gonna send this to my friend and just be like, hey, can you find it? I'm sure he will find it, but still. Okay, that was sneaky. That was a sneaky attack. And I don't know if there was actually a defense, because like the bishop can go to d1, but it's gonna be chased, and anyways it has to make its way back, right? So h3 is important. I guess technically we could play h3 first, and then like whenever he moves, just bring in the king with the same idea. Just to make sure g5 is not happening, you know, because like if you play h3 and he goes g5 and you take and they take, you can just take here, and white's pawn just, you know, promotes before anything else. So either way, but that is the winning plan. Now I don't believe anything can happen From white side, this bishop is doing a good job. If the king makes its way to d3, I think this should end in a draw. So a very, very unexpected turn of events. Let's go back to the top remaining board. So we have Alicia here, whose position looks like this. 15 minutes to 5. I mean, maybe some chances. Then Arman, Ethan, Tariq, Arman. No progress here. Ethan. Is Rook F3 gonna be played, or he's still thinking? I mean, that doesn't lead to mate, to be fair. It doesn't lead to mate because the king will be able to go back and forth. So, but obviously the rook is trapped, so we can try to and maybe we can go rook e1, but that might allow some 95, and he's gonna be safe. I definitely want rook f3. I also see this idea as a potential, but there's always 95, which is bothering me. That's the reason why I was thinking this, but let's have something against this one too, because but you know, something with rook c3, so we might give a checky first, and then okay, I saw this gorgeous mating. It doesn't work. I was gonna play something with bishop e6 and show you this fancy rook h8, queen f8, but he plays king h7 and I will have lost all of my power. It will be all gone. Yeah, that will not be something very wise. You know what? I'm gonna do this. If you take, I take. If you take, I take. Your rook is lost. If you go there, this is the cute mate that I want to show. So this is how I anticipate the game to continue. First check, make sure the king makes it there, then we bring in the rook. He can't go back because of b3, so he's gonna lose material. And I'm not sure where the queen will go. We definitely have that check if he moves here, for example. We do have a mating 2. This is the 1 and this is the 2. So there, nice, cute, everything. So I think Ethan needs to take his time to make sure he's double checking. I mean, obviously he cannot afford losing any more half pawn points in this tournament, but that looked pretty safe. Tariq. Tariq might get the draw here. Which might be a problem for him. Because dropping a point and a half in this tournament doesn't really help you get to the top, unfortunately. And lastly, we have Nirvan. Some more pieces got traded. Okay, but what does white plan to do? Knight here? But then the knight will be stuck. It will never. Oh, wait a second. This is actually a win. Oh my goodness, this is actually a win because we're up a pawn. I forgot. Wait a second. So after this, black does need to move the bishop. But okay, now the knight is still restricted. So white might still attempt playing through if black doesn't realize, but looks like that was played. So bishop f3 is the only move for black not to lose here. few more moves have been played in this one, but no big change. Wait a second, wait, Ethan didn't go for my choice? He played Queen C3? Why? Because you wanted, okay, but like, Rook! Bring in the Rook! Okay, he might be playing against the opponent's time, I think. That's... If that's what he's doing, it might be a mistake, because... I think he maybe not fully misjudged the placement of the queen. The queen was doing really great in f6 because it was keeping black's queen passive in c7, and there were ideas with the queen going on the back rank. You see, you always have to double check things, but black doesn't have much time, so I think it's gonna be a matter of time. Black might end up blundering due to time. Presuming b3 is gonna be played. But the problem is, if we move here, I think they can just take it. It's a bit confusing as to how Ethan wants to progress this position. I don't see it. Does anyone have any ideas? Are you guys still here? Are you still listening? Are you still watching? You know, it's getting late. It's been a really long day of commentary for sure. Okay. Now the rook needs to make its way to c8. Because in f6 there's nothing to do. The rook needs to make it on that side of the board now. Unless he wants to try to bring it to h4. But like if rook f4, rook h7, so I don't... All of the other games seem not to have had many moves being played. But Alicia somehow is struggling now. I didn't like allowing the loss of that pawn. The thing is, I think she thought she's winning something, but there's no mate or anything, so this pawn is going to be unpleasant to deal with. So that's the problem. The idea, like, I think she forgot about the rook being under attack. It's a bit unpleasant. Someone blundered, apparently. How is that a blunder? It's probably something better, but black is still safe. How did Ethan? Okay, they're playing really fast now. Okay, he just went for the pawn, I see. He wanted to take those in return for the g-pawn, and the h stays there to keep the king safe. Okay, if this rook wasn't here, you know, if this rook wasn't here, black would go for queen takes h2 and knight g4. These are the types of ideas you need to see instantaneously when you're playing, you know, with low time on the clock. But here, okay, obviously we are up a piece, so if that happens, we don't really mind it very much. If knight g4 happens directly, I think white can easily defend with the queen and should be fine. It looks like black is running out of time. 3 versus 3. Which pawns are more powerful? Those are separated, but these ones cannot advance, so it is what it is. Wait, Nirvan was able to get the winning position. I saw a queen. How did this happen? Oh wow, so he must have been able to grab that bishop at some point. This king and pawn endgame got lost? Oh no. Oh no, he allowed this king to infiltrate and he played king f6 instead of king e6? Sad. Oh, I feel sad. It's king e6. If you go king f4, we go king f6. If you play e4, we take. Opposition. You have to stay within this part of the board or else the king will make its way to grab g3. And if you play e4 directly, this is not gonna work, right? Because, like, you know, the king is going to take the opposition. You have to go there or else I'm gonna infiltrate. And now white takes advantage of the pawn there, pushes you back, and will go on to grab your pawn and win the game. However, in this position, after e4 is played, I think black must have forgotten that they can play the move king e5. This attacks the pawn, threatens to take it, and gives white the move. So white has to take, and now there's nothing that you can do. Yeah, you can pretend like, oh no, I didn't see it. Oh no, you're going back. I'm taking your opposition. But the thing is, there's no entrance for white. Anytime g4 is played, the pawn will be captured. Wow, I feel for Reddy. And well, kudos to Nirvan for playing it out and winning the, now with 2 extra pawns. Obviously black has no way to save himself, so that game was over. All right, down to 4 games from round 5 of this middle school championship. Definitely one to remember with a lot of upsets. I don't believe I've seen that many upsets in the first 2 days of the tournament. So this is definitely one of those tournaments to remember. It's gonna be a tough one for some of the players and maybe great one for others, maybe inspirational for a few. There's always some kind of lessons learned. Everyone takes something from each tournament. Others just enjoy, you know, the learning process, socializing maybe, but for many who are really focused on chess and improvement, I know that these tournaments are important and they need to try, or they attempt to do their very, very best to do well. And when it doesn't work out, I know it's tough, but I think the best thing that we can do as coaches, as parents, it's just remind ourselves that the kids who are playing, they are the ones who are suffering the most. They are the ones who are taking a lot of pressure on themselves. When something doesn't go right, they are the ones who are putting themselves down. And I think the best way that we can help them as coaches, as parents, is to find a way to help them let it go of that specific game that didn't go very well. And you know, I don't know, enjoy a good meal, have some ice cream, have some dessert, you know, watch something, some nice movie, something funny, and just kind of like forget about the game while the tournament is still in progress. You can analyze and look at the game later, but you have to let it go temporarily so that you can focus on the remaining games. And as I said, that looks like Tariq unfortunately blundered here and ended up losing. This is gonna be a tough one for Tariq because this is his 2nd loss in a row today. King d1 probably allowed something like this, or no. Why was this such a bad decision? It's probably like this king is gonna get on mate somehow. Maybe bishop here to bring in the bishop. There's a difference between bishop c5 and bishop d6. I cannot tell it to you right away. Maybe there's rook c1. They could have, no, rook c1 doesn't do anything. Oh, maybe king d2. and you cannot check. Like there you could have checked, here you cannot. So when you go back, maybe white still has the... not that. How to stop bishop f4. Maybe we go e5, and now if you take, we take. So white should be able to draw. He might have not realized the importance of bishop there, and now he stays on some kind of a mate on the back rank. The e pawn doesn't do much, and once d2 is played, rook c1 is unstoppable. Tough. He didn't have time. Also, that was kind of problematic. Only 13 seconds left. Tough one. So we have one game remaining. Did these players agree on a draw? No, they're still playing. Oh, but maybe white finally found a way to win, because now they get into a queen endgame where white will definitely have chances to win, because queen g5 will attempt the queen trades and it will work out. Then we had Ethan, who won his game. Tariq unfortunately lost, and the other one was Nirvan, right? So I guess we are down to these two. This one, okay, now that the pawn was able to be captured, this game will end in a draw. Like, this one I'm pretty sure it should end in a draw. No questions asked. As for this one, white will try to play for a win. Okay, so the best approach, I think he's still deciding if that works, because he's worried about perpetual, but he might have forgotten that that's a check, so we cannot do perpetual. We need to take the bishop. So once you take, we need to take the bishop, and now what is the best setup for white? Should white just play queen g5, push this queen away, king h2, and then I think so. And then just start marching the d pawn. So out of nowhere, white's been able to create... Okay, those moves were played. Hi there, machine. How's it going? So white's on the way to win now. Not so much to do. Just as a reminder, tomorrow there are 2 rounds remaining. They will be starting at 9 a.m. and let me confirm it's 1:30 or 2 p.m. 2 p.m. So 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time, which is Central Time. As for Eastern Time, of course, 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Those are the times that... So the players will have a little bit more time in between the games to, you know, unwind a little bit, relax, and just be ready for the final one. And hopefully they get a good night's rest. It's going okay. All right, that's good to hear. Earlier you're mentioning you're not doing so well, so hopefully you're recovering. So naturally, okay, so we've had this endgame before in this tournament, exactly this endgame, and I was mentioning that white doesn't even need the Philidor. If you remember, white can just place the king there, rook on c1, and just go back and forth because it's a knight pawn. There's no progress for black to win this, but obviously you can draw it faster, but this is going to be a draw. It is the next board that interests us the most, to see if white is going to outplay his opponent or not. And these players are playing on board 7 of the championship section. Let me double check their points. So we have Arman and Tanish. they're both with 3.5. So if they draw, if white wins, Armando is gonna go on to 4.5 out of 5. That's a pretty good result. That is a really great result. How do I find human error in coordination? Human error in coordination. Some players can spot coordination errors so well. Or to technically pressure one piece on the board to get a check. That's a very deep question. First of all, I need to try to understand your question. I'm sorry. I read it 3 times. I'm not 100% sure I fully understand the question. How do I understand human error in coordination? You mean how to help improve coordination when you are in the defensive mode or in attacking mode or both? Is that your question? So, like, generally you work through positions, through middle game positions where you or tactics. You can do it with all kinds of positions, in my opinion, but you need to go through specific steps. This is my personal opinion. Other coaches may believe otherwise, but in my opinion, you have to have a good sense of what's going on the board. So for that, you need to have an evaluation, and generally various coaches have their own techniques on how to take advantage of imbalances. Generally, you're looking at king safety first, material, and then you're looking at the pawn structure and piece placement in that kind of form or another. There's various extra points for each one of them. So after you do that, you need to know specifically every single time what the threats of the opponent are, and that will help you to have a better sense of which points on the board to look towards, right? And if you notice there are some weaknesses, you definitely need to kind of have an idea on how to focus on those weaknesses. We have the tendency to forget to look for threats, to look for ideas for the opponent. So you have to kind of make those steps, but you need to get used to making them fast. And that's why when you're training at home, you generally spend more time until you start automatically making those evaluations and those things, and you're paying attention to the weaknesses fast. And when you evaluate and you pay attention to the weaknesses, you automatically know where you want to attack and where the opponent wants to defend, right? Or vice versa. So you're developing that sixth sense, I think, when you're doing this. I don't think it's innate. I think, okay, so they agreed on a draw, so this is the final game. I don't believe that's innate. I think you build it through work, through seeing more positions, through really understanding what's going on the positions. You see, what I notice a lot of people do, and kids enjoy watching videos and solving tactics, but I feel that they just know the theme and they're just going and just making the move while not fully assessing the position, not fully really understanding what's going on the board. And so that's why a lot of the times you can have a 2800 rating online, but your level still stays at 1500 when you play. That's because I think you haven't fully gone through these stages of really understanding what's happening on the position. There's a tactic, but when you solve a position, because you do it on a website or your coach gave you the position or you found it in a book, and it's a tactic. The problem is when you're playing, you don't know any of these things. There's no one to tell you, there's no one to have a bell ringing and say, hey, stop, think, in this position you have this, or you have that, or you have the other thing. And you're the only one who is there who can figure it out, you know? So this is the kind of work that I would recommend doing to improve the decision making, and that has to do with piece coordination. I mean, obviously you can try to work just on examples that show you how to coordinate pieces. Looking at games of classics certainly does that. Lasker has some great games. Maybe you can look at some Smyslov games, Fischer games if you want more attacking games. So definitely, pick up one of those world champions that has games. I mean, personally, one of my favorites is Capablanca. So you can look at how he, worked with the pieces together towards a goal. And that should be inspiring for you to, oh my goodness, is White not going to win this anymore? No, it's still winning. So that's my advice. I hope it makes sense what I've described, and I hope I've answered your question. If not, I'm going to read some more. I know the threats, but I met players that can shut down threats even when they take all their pieces. I think it depends on the position. I think it depends. I don't think you're doing anything wrong. But what is your level? May I ask what your level is? First of all, I mean, could you share your rating? That way maybe I can have a better idea. How to reach me for real? What do you mean reach me for real? Like, I'm not sure what that means. Like meet me in person or get in touch for a chess advice? I'm not sure what your question is, Blizzard. You're a tactics player, so you look at talent. But here's the thing. I don't think it works that way. These days you have to be an overall good player, both positional and strategic. You have to have knowledge for positional play too. You cannot only be good at one. I mean, you can be good at that, but you need to continue developing the other areas of the game too, or else you're not going to be progressing in a normal fashion. Your positional chess will stay behind, and that's why your rating probably doesn't change much, because you'll not always get the kind of positions that you want. There's always going to be possibilities for the opponent to get to take you in other kinds of positions, and you have to be ready. You have to be ready to know how to address positional chess too. So you like Tal? Okay, combine his games with someone like Capablanca or Pete Lasker. It's okay that the games have mistakes. No worries. Just look at the plans. You want someone more recent? Okay, I'm not gonna say Carlsen because it's the obvious answer. So let's just say maybe you want to pick. Whom would I say that you want to pick to look at the games if you want a world champion? Yeah, maybe Spassky, maybe Smyslov. Like choose Smyslov. Look at Smyslov games. No, Gary is aggressive. Magnuson is all around. Gary is aggressive. All right, looks like Arman has won his game. But we are having a conversation, Blizzard. I'm confused. What exactly you're asking? So you still haven't told me what your rating is, Spaghetti. We're trying to figure out how I could feel comfortable in every position because I've been in players stronger, and it's just exactly. But that's because you are a tactical player, so you probably have one tactically. You're probably better than them, and you got the kind of position that helps you. So I believe that if you try to develop more your positional skills, I'm sure you have some, you're going to do better with improvement. Wow, what a day this was. Certainly very exciting. I certainly hope you've enjoyed it and you'll join me tomorrow once again. I think, if you guys want to write me, separate questions, feel free to do so when I stream on my channel. Generally, I'm trying to focus on the tournament. I do love to give extra advice. But I sometimes don't know if I don't have sufficient knowledge about you. So if you join in when I'm streaming on my channel, I'll gladly make extra suggestions. Maybe they're helpful to you. So hopefully what I've given so far were good enough. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening. I'm inviting you all to join me back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, US Eastern Time, or later in the day at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for rounds 6 and 7 of this middle school chess championship. We'll be starting with a recap of my favorite moment that I'm still deciding which one it is, and then we'll get into the games. Lots of interesting games, I'm sure, and we'll see a big matchup between Brian Lin and Srikar Kandikayala, both of whom have won their games and are on 5 out of 5. So in the championship section, that's going to be very likely the top board, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. Yeah, if you guys have no more questions, I wish you all the best and hope to see you tomorrow. Don't forget to follow US Chess if you haven't done so yet on all the social media accounts as you sign out to stay notified when we go live for announcements, tournaments, and many other educational content. YouTube is a great place to be. If you've missed this commentary, you can always catch up with it there. I believe round 1 has already been posted, so be sure to tune in and catch up with that. On my end, I wish you